What's up? It is me, Jack. I'm just playing. But hey, so this is my project. I hope y'all enjoy. I just gotta practice. I'm tired. But let's do this. So Amendment 1 is freedom of religion, speech, and press. That basically means Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise. So basically, that's telling you you can believe in whoever you want to believe in and say what you want to say. So if the law comes up to you and try to say you can't believe who you want to believe in, or worship who you want to worship, then you could just hit them with that First Amendment, period. The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, which means you have the right to bear arms. And if you don't know what bearing arms is, it's like, carrying guns. Like, yeah, like that. But you still need like a permit. Cause if you ain't a permit, you can't have no gun. Like, the Third Amendment is the housing of soldiers. So basically, back in the day during war, people were forced to house soldiers in their own homes. Even if their home wasn't big enough for everybody, they would have to give their home to soldiers. So this amendment made it so that you cannot be forced to quarter a soldier in your house unless prescribed by law. Amendment 4 is protection from unreasonable searches and seizures. So this means that the right of the people to be secured in their own homes, their papers. That basically means the police aren't allowed to just come in your house without a search warrant and search your house. Because I know if somebody would walk in my house and try to search my house, I'd be like, skirt, bye. So Amendment 6 is the rights of accused persons in criminal cases. So have y'all ever seen When They See Us on Netflix? Because that show was unreasonable. They basically took a whole bunch of kids that wasn't even legal. They didn't have no parent in there. And they basically just accused them of doing crimes that they didn't do. And that's not allowed. You have rights as a citizen. So if those kids wanted their parents in the room while they was being, interrogated, they could have had them in a room. So Amendment 7 is rights in civil cases. So in common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined. So basically, if someone has a case and their case was already passed by and they plead not guilty, they cannot recall by any means unless they find some new evidence. Amendment 8 is excessive bails, fines, and punishments forbidden. So that means excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel or unusual punishments inflicted. You can't have no excessive bail. So say you have a case, you have a criminal case, you pled guilty. They can't just put the bail to $5 million, because who got that except for people who rich? The Ninth Amendment is other rights kept by the people, which basically means that all rights that are not listed on the Constitution belong to the people, not the government. So in other words, the rights of the people are not limited to just, the rights listed in the Constitution. The 10th Amendment was included in the Bill of Rights to define the balance between power in the federal government and states. And it basically says that the federal government has only those powers specifically granted by the Constitution. No more powers beyond that. So the two amendments I chose for my project was Amendment 2, which is the right to bear arms, and Amendment 6, the rights of accused persons in criminal cases.
This case had been voted on in private conference by the justices 3 times. The McDonald v. Chicago petition was granted in its first conference. The first Second Amendment case, District of Columbia v. Heller, was granted after its second private conference of justices, on the very same day of the conference. The question presented is a simple one. The ramifications of the decision are potentially far-reaching. The question presented is, whether the city's ban on transporting a licensed, locked, and unloaded handgun to a home or shooting range outside city limits is consistent with the Second Amendment.
So the United States versus Bronsozian was a case where several years ago, Nick Bronsozian was charged with possession of an unregistered machine gun under a tax law statute. So he was charged and convicted of a felony for not paying a tax that the government would not allow him to pay. Landon Quinn was black and was convicted in 2011 for a 2009 robbery and murder of 2 white men after they left a convenience store in New Orleans, Louisiana. There was no fingerprints linking him to the crime scene, and they had no proof. There was no gun tied to him, and they never found fingerprints. There was no gunshot residue on his hands or none of that. But apparently, they still charged him with the murder and robbery.
When you are working on a case that you think is a wrongful conviction, you're only on one side, and that side is getting to the truth.
The day she went missing was just a normal day to me.
It never hit me that something could be wrong until they found her body.
The suspect is Adnan Musad Syed.
그 아이를 죄를 주는 것밖에는 바라는 게 없습니다.
It felt like they gotta have the wrong guy. If he did what he did, then who's the person that I saw every day in class?
For years, I've been saying to Adnan, we should go to media, we should go to journalists, because they can do things we can't do.
But nobody realized it's going to turn into anything big.
Adnan Syed's story has captivated millions since the launch of the podcast Serial.
Serial is what brought new evidence to the case.
But Serial was not going to exonerate him.
Now, 18 years after he was sent to prison, convicted murderer Adnan Syed heads back to court as questions about his case continue to surface.
As investigators, we go beyond what law enforcement has already done.
Failure to investigate more thoroughly is a major mistake.
I never thought about him over all these years.
This was a person that had a life. This is an interesting case, but it's people's lives.
I know there are things that don't look good for me.
I'm telling you, that's what happened.
How could anybody think that he's being straight about this?
That doesn't make him a killer. Makes him an unusual person.
This is perhaps the critical piece to this case.
They were gonna follow that wherever it took them.
This is a piece of evidence that nobody even realized existed.
I want you to look into my eyes and tell me of your innocence.
So in the case of Adnan Syed, he was convicted in 2000 for the murder of his high school girlfriend, but he was overturned by his judge and he proved his innocence, but yet he still had to serve that time.